fresh out of the dentist office. I don't know if you're going to talk or not, but just kind of. If everyone would join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today and ask for your guidance as we discuss our community affairs. All our actions today, we hope, will be to your favor. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Okay. Norm, I don't see, if Gene comes, we'll skip down and give that presentation if he makes it. But your understanding, you hadn't had a confirmation he was coming, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Drop down to item number 3. Consider the minutes of the March 18th meeting.
I have a couple of suggestions.
Okay.
On page 2, where I think the Wesley's report, I think he was talking about Project Watson, and says he was discussing possible incentives with a natural gas manufacturer. It should be a gasoline manufacturer.
Okay.
If I'm correct with the project. And then on the next page, at the very top, where it talks about a return on investment, instead of saying the return on investment was $12, it ought to be either 12 to 1, or for every dollar invested, we get 12 back, or something like that. So I think that's what we were trying to.
$12 for every $1 spent.
$12 for every $1 spent.
That's a motion report.
Yes.
Yeah.
With those are the only suggestions I have.
I'll make a motion based on those suggestions.
Okay, we've got a motion. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. It carries. Give Chris a second to get up here and situated.
Tardiness, Mr. Chairman.
That's all right. I know you didn't do it intentionally if you're the dentist. Okay. Contractors Report. Start with Wes.
Mr. Is this on? Do we need to turn this on?
Stop. Should be on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the time. The report is in your packet. I'll be brief. I know we got a lot to talk about today. Just want to hit high points on a couple of projects we're still working on. Sabre Chemical is one we talked about a long time ago, actually, in 18. Started on this one, and they slowly developed and bought some property in town. Started developments on that, and then had to pause during COVID. I was out there last week, and they have picked back up and started up again. So we've not ever really gotten into the incentive agreements or discussions or any of those kinds of things. They are still looking at how big they want that project to be and what the market will bear. And they've made some good connections with some local businesses and some bank relationships in town. So I know they are still rolling. They did have some questions from their investors and different things like that. So we're working through some of those. Just wanted to give you an update that we're still talking to them in order to get that project moving forward. Again, we're going to talk about the big project we've been talking about for quite a while. We're going to talk about that later. But things continue to move forward with some other, with the taxing entities and some other meetings we've been having on some of their other plans. So we're excited about that moving forward. We continue to get some good interest from the state, from their site folks that send us the leads. Those are results of site location folks also contacting our state. Sometimes that's the way they go. And we've been able to respond some on those. It looks like the pandemic kind of mentality as far as maybe we're turning the corner and moving forward on some things. So I think activity is really going to pick up. We've been active. We've had a lot of activity during the pandemic and through that. So we're still excited about the things coming that we already got in the pipeline, but we do think the pipeline is going to continue to get filled up for some new projects. So one project on here, we've been calling it CTV. I'm not sure which one it is on this list. It's the last one, 2020-06. They're continuing also moving forward. They have filed for a school district value limitation. I've mentioned that. We had conversations with their consultants yesterday, and they're ready to move that project forward too for some of the other considerations, which I think means they're pretty close to having a site comparison that they can really present us as the most favorable for the project, we hope. So, local business retention expansion. Tracy's been out a lot lately. She had 2 this morning. We've had a lot of results from what Craig will tell you from some of the media placements we've had recently. Specifically mentioned those, and we'd like to visit with someone about how we can expand in Odessa. So those will be some smaller ones that we're talking to, but both local expansions, which are pretty exciting stuff. So be happy to answer any questions about what's in the report, or maybe other things that you are concerned or questions about anything going on that we might be able to find the answers for you. If not, that's my report.
Any questions for Wes?
Good.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
I'll take the opportunity now to thank all the contractors for adjusting your schedules for today's meeting. We had to move it up a day and an hour, and I think we got everybody here now, so we were successful at that. But thank you for working with us on that. And with that being said, CBA advertising, Craig.
Good afternoon. Hope y'all are having a great day today. You have the marketing report in your packet. I'll touch on just some of the highlights very briefly. Our podcast series now has the 4 new ones that are being uploaded that we mentioned in our last meeting. They'll be introduced 1 a week over the next 6 weeks. And so those will be on the air and available for people to listen to. Television continues to focus on business retention and expansion on the very, very limited schedule that we have running between now and August. However, we are talking about doing a version of our business retention and expansion ad in Spanish to encourage more Hispanic businesses to apply and to be involved in the process. Outdoor messages, again, local, focused on expansion and retention, as well as our newspaper, which will feature Nick Fowler on its digital ads and also in the display ad that we run periodically. Trade publications, last month I mentioned to you the Expansion Solutions magazine that is currently running, but we also did a press release regarding Odessa and Texas's winning, or I say winning, that's not really a good term, high placement for both in the Site Selection Magazine's Governor's Cup Award. Very pleased with that. We got some press out of that through the Odessa American. The copy of the press release is in your packet for you to review. ODC, the website, traffic on it was up significantly from last month, with the largest source of traffic being a referral at 59% from the Facebook and the City of Odessa pages. Permian Fuels America website has reached now over 340 signatures and is doing well, getting a lot of interest still. ODC social media. In March, social media was mixed across all platforms, with reach being up and engagement slightly down. Reach being down, I apologize, and engagement being up. ODC's Facebook page is doing well, as is Twitter. The Permian Fuels America social media showed increases of up to, in reach of 54% and total engagements of 42%, which is very positive, but the likes were down. Again, no real explanation for that right now, but the people that are going there are staying on the site and finding out more about the Midland Odessa area. So that's my report for today, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Craig, are we seeing anything different, or do we have anything planned different for Permian Fuels America in light of
Change in administration. We've had those discussions.
The amount of money we're going to spend in that venue.
Yes, we've had those discussions already, Mr. Crow. I know that Kirk Edwards is giving that some thought as well. There will be some shift in strategy, more than likely. But the majority of that campaign is run Scambit, and there'll be a little bit more, but not a whole lot. So, but that has been discussed as an important aspect of that. Yes.
Of our monthly advertising budget, how much of that is kind of going towards that Permian Fuels America campaign? at this point in time?
Oh, at this point in time? Wow, I would say maybe 5%. Not a lot.
Thank you.
Not a lot. Yeah, the majority of that marketing message for Permian Fuels America ran pretty heavily, Mr. Crow, up through the beginning of February.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Craig, when we met, I think you were there, Ray Perryman, we were talking to him about it. We mentioned to kind of restructure where our next message is going to be, and I think we can get Kirk and his committee together this next time. But
Good.
He was complimentary of the fact that it looked like it worked from the standpoint that we didn't lose a lot of people moving out.
Right. Which was our goal.
That was our goal in
Right.
that. And then the next goal was, at some point, we've got to consider too is, in his report, he asked us to make sure that we connect with Washington, D.C. and Austin on how much revenue that they'll be missing if they don't keep the Permian.
Well,
That's a challenge, but I mean, we need to...
that is a challenge, and I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Edgman. UTPB has actually done some research on that to show how much revenue has been lost to the state of Texas by the oil industry being kind of back on its heels. And we're hoping to receive that information fairly soon. Once we receive that, we'll give some consideration about doing some marketing messages based on that. But we haven't gotten that full report yet. Hopefully we'll have it within about 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah, just to clarify that.
Sure.
Craig, my recollection is that the study that UTPB is doing is trying to determine for every barrel of Saudi oil
yes.
that's been bought, that's how much has been lost in the Permian. And
That's
really,
exactly right.
that was one of the main things that we were trying to counteract in Austin and Washington.
Correct.
Is there any way we can compel refineries to reconsider when they get a chance that Saudi oil is being dumped on the market and whatnot, that we can protect our own industry?
That's correct. That's correct. That's exactly right, Mr. Battana.
Okay. Any other questions?
Anything else? Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Walker, easy on that knee.
Sir?
Easy on that knee.
Oh, yeah. Old football injuries. Mr. Chairman, committee, this is going to be pretty odd because this is going to be a little short, sweet, and to the point. The Black Chamber of Commerce of the Permian Basin, our financial information, because it was a short reporting period, a total of $780 was spent on salary for our administrative assistant, and this was from March 16th through March 31st. Our next report will have our report on everything that has taken place as from the 1st of April to today. It'll entail everything it'll go from 0 to 50 on our next report.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we have an event today, right now, with UTPB that is taking place right now. So everything will be caught in the next report. I just wanted to get this in because the reporting period was so short. So.
Okay.
Mr. Walker, I just want to make sure you guys had a event maybe last month, and if I heard you correctly, you're going to discuss that event as well in the report.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none? Thank you.
My knee thanks you. Thank you.
Hispanic Chamber, pause. There it is.
Good afternoon. I believe you should all have a packet in front of you. Sorry I couldn't get that in the email out, but real quickly, so some of the ongoing ones we have a hoisting crane service company that we've been working with. We're officially filed with the state of Texas. They're an official business now. We're kind of getting the rest of the information together that they're going to need to move forward with any sort of loan conversations they're going to be having with banks. That seems super promising. There's a lot of experience that they're coming off of an existing crane company So we think that's going to be a really great launch. We'll have more information for that as we start getting farther into those conversations. And that may be something we bring to the board, but we're not quite sure. They're not quite sure the avenue they want to take on that yet. Ice manufacturing company, that's kind of a small company, so we'll move on from that. Nothing new there. There's a long haul trucking company. Again, this is an organization that's coming out of Honduras. They've moved out here. They've had a lot of success here in the area, and they're seeing an increase in client traffic, especially as the pandemic is starting to let up. We're finalizing their business plans and helping with their final financial projections. And again, they're moving into the loan and grant application process now. We're predicting that to be done before the end of the month, where they're ready to start submitting that information out. So hopefully we'll have some more information for you at the next meeting. Other ongoing projects we've got with the extension of the PPP that was passed by the Senate moving to the end of May. We're going to extend our PPP webinars out and kind of try and see if we can capture more people that may have missed that first deadline. Now that it's towards the end of May, we have another 2 months to get more people here in the area to try and get access to some of that money. We're also going to continue doing those in Spanish. A lot of that is turning into door-to-door kind of advertising. There's a lot of people that are not on social media necessarily, a lot of Spanish-speaking business owners that don't spend a whole lot of time in that, so we're having to move a little more into just trying to hit the ground and see if we can get more of those people involved in that. A lot of what we're seeing is just a lack of education on that side of it, from the SBA, PPP, all of that. So we're trying to bridge that gap as much as possible. Continuing partnership with SBDC seems to be going well. I'll let Tyler expand on that a little more. I know from our conversations it seems to be going well, and we're seeing an increase in attendance. And we're just going to keep moving. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And last part of that is just some of the visits that I've had with Randy Ham, Odessa Arts, just some projects we've got going on. Met with Chris over at the Black Chamber of Commerce, trying to continue partnerships there. And then the rest of it's, and then the last page here on these consults, there is a new automation company that is out of El Paso that approached us just a couple days ago. We are, at the moment, they don't have any plans on opening the office, but they're continuing those conversations with us. Hopefully we can get them a few more clients to them to justify opening an area here and start hiring locally. That's going to be a continued conversation with them. I know that they're excited about moving this area because they've not been here before, and they realize that the business potential for them. So we're going to keep having that conversation with them. So if you have any questions, that's my report. Go ahead.
I appreciate the report again. I have more of a comment than anything to both chambers, and Tyler may talk about this here in a minute, but hopefully both chambers can have an opportunity to visit with UTB, and UTB and UT are actually teaming up for an event that I think that really falls in line with what you guys are doing. You may already know about it, but I'm just bringing it up in the event you have not had an opportunity to look at it.
Absolutely, yeah, I believe me and Tyler spoke about that.
And we're real pleased to see y'all working together as you are. That means a lot to us as well. We're going in the right direction. Any other questions? Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
Tyler, you're next.
Good afternoon. You have the report in your packet, but I'm going to hit a couple of highlights just for a minute, and then I want to go over the program Mr. Cole was just speaking about real briefly. For the month of March, we had 354 counseling sessions. We presented 3 seminars. We also had 2 additional seminars that are not counted here because they were regional in nature. But locally, we had 49 attendees. In the area, we had 5 new businesses started, 2 of those in Odessa. One was an assisted living nursing agency that actually started with a nice number of jobs and is going to continue to increase. So we expect to see some good job production out of that. Did a little bit more than $3.9 million in financing for the month. About $454,000 of that was from Odessa firms, and 33 FTEs are a result of those new businesses. Again, that nursing agency is going to continue to drive that. As far as the partnerships, our first event with the Black Chamber was today, actually at noon. And we had 24 people signed up. Obviously, I'm not there, so I don't know how many showed up online yet. But that's a good number for that particular subject matter. It's how to start a business. So I'm experimenting with the starting time, trying some things at noon to see if it does better than some of the later afternoon things. And it's just going to be an ongoing experiment. And I'm going to do basically the same exact webinar at our normal time of 2 p.m. in about a month. And we'll just do a comparison to see what time works better for folks. We had our second workshop with the Odessa Hispanic Chamber a couple of weeks ago. That was the People Fund. Actually, I think I've already spoken about that. But we had 30 people that went to that. By comparison, the same exact program with the same exact speaker that we did about a year ago, right as the pandemic started, before the pandemic started, but right before, we had 12 people show up. So that gives you an idea of what the impact can be, and we think will continue to be. So they're doing a great job promoting our workshops and our services to their members, and we really appreciate that. I wanted to mention something. I'm not here asking for money or anything. I just want to make you aware of a program that we've started, or are in the process of starting, and it's called the Small Biz Accelerator Program. It's a partnership between the SBDC, UTPB, and IC Squared from UT. If you're not familiar with IC Squared, they are basically the business incubator in Austin. They have done this program in Austin for many, many years, I think more than 15. It's called Fast Forward in Austin is what it's referred to. We came up with our own name. They didn't want to duplicate it with what Austin's doing. Exactly why other UT schools haven't been doing this in the past, I have no idea. But we were given the opportunity to do it, and we jumped on it. And what it is the 10-week training program in which the members, the people who participate, will basically be able to come up with a growth strategy for their business. It includes meeting 10 times in the classroom. It includes video online every week. It includes homework. It includes a mentorship program. It includes a lot of stuff. And we're going to take applications through April 29th. We will start May 18th and go through basically August. So it's a pretty cool program. I've seen the curriculum. The curriculum has been developed by IC Squared. However, our professors will be, Professor Peckham and Professor Zaire will be presenting it locally. So we think it's pretty good. When you look at the results that they've seen from the companies in Austin who have participated in it, they're pretty astounding. About 70% of them have, those companies within 2 years, introduced new products and services. 90% of them saw revenue growth on average of 40%. So that's pretty impressive. The companies that participated added 2.5 jobs per company. So it's also a job generator. So we're pretty excited about it. What we're wanting is 30 local companies, 30 companies in the Permian Basin. We want them to have been in business around 2 years or more, but we're going to be flexible with that. We want them to have revenues around $500,000 or more, annual revenues. So very small companies. We want them to have 2.5 employees or thereabouts. Again, we're going to be flexible on these things. Normally this program in Austin, there's a charge of a couple of $100 per company. We're going to do it for free. So this is an opportunity, and what we want is 30 local companies. Frankly, I hope as many of them as possible are from Odessa. So that's kind of the program. I have flyers, if you mind if I bring them up. Okay? Okay. This is actually a printed digital flyer. So there are links on it. I've already got one. Thank you, by the way. Appreciate it. Sure. So anyway, that's kind of a recap of what our month was and the program we have coming up. Any questions for me?
Seeing done, thank you, Tyler.
Thank you very much.
Motran, Mr. James, congratulations on your award last night and for assisting those young Republicans group in Midland. And I was glad to see a large Odessa group there, large number at that event as well.
That's right. We need more Odessa folks. It's good. Thank you for that. Just kind of going back last week, most of our report today and you know, the reports in your packets are always old. We've got a lot of stuff that's happened since then, so we're going to focus on a couple legislative things that we've been working on as part of this. And the first one is last week we were asked to testify in the Public Health Committee. If you remember, about 6 years ago, one of the things that we worked to do was to create a telehealth program in EMS units for trauma cases here in the Permian Basin as a pilot project. And we did that. And the good news is it was very, very successful. Saved a lot of lives. That program is renewing this year, and we hope to have more communities in the Permian Basin participate in that. It's all based on the fact that the treatment you get in the first 60 minutes after a traumatic injury has about a 2/3 impact on your mortality rate. And so having that telemedicine equipment in that EMS unit and being able to uplink that doctor had a tremendous impact. What we actually found in the report, though, as we went through these first 6 years, is the life saving didn't occur of that. It came because too oftentimes we put people in an EMS unit and send them to the wrong place and then have to turn around and transport them back to the right place, and in the process they die. I'll give you a great example, and I'm probably going to violate a whole bunch of HIPAA laws here, but there might have been a person from Odessa who was traveling to Andrews who was injured in a very dramatic car accident. They were picked up. Ordinarily, they would have been taken to Andrews. The Andrews physician and the ER said, no, take them to Odessa. We cannot help them. We can't take care of what's wrong with them. So that's what they did. They turned around, came back to Odessa, but in the process, following the telemetry there in the equipment, they discovered that that person was bleeding internally and would bleed to death before they came to Odessa. So they sent blood to the EMS unit in transit and started performing a transfusion on the way here, and that person survived. We've seen other cases where in smaller rural communities surrounding us, we have an EMT and not a paramedic in that EMS unit, and being able to hook up with that doctor and be able to prescribe or order a higher level of care than maybe an EMT can give has also saved some lives. At the end of the day, though, what the state loves about it is not sending them to the wrong place has saved the state somewhere between roughly $80 and $100 million over the 6 years of this pilot project. So good for care, and I guess good for the state budget. So again, that's something we've been working on. Just want to talk to you about that. Redistricting, we testified at that redistricting hearing last week as well about the West Texas region. And a couple of things we pointed out. Of course, the Permian Basin is the world's largest oil field at this point. 4 House districts that encompass the central Permian Basin, and that would be Representatives Craddock, Darby, Landgraf, and Morales, constitute 62% of all the oil production in the state of Texas. And we pointed that out because too oftentimes in redistricting, because of loss of population in the Panhandle and far west Texas, the move was always to carve up the Permian Basin. And so what we've asked is, you know, we are one of the population growing centers. The state demographer denoted that, of the rapid growth of the Permian, which is still ongoing, and to try to preserve those seats, as well as talking about the principle of Craddock versus Smith, which is a Supreme Court ruling saying you don't just divide counties because you can. And that's important to us because not many years ago, Ector County was in 2 senatorial districts. One was in El Paso, one was in San Antonio. At that same time, Midland was in 3 senatorial districts. One was in San Antonio, not the same one that Odessa was in, a Lubbock, and another one. So again, that a few years ago even, Midland was split, I know, into 3 congressional districts, and I guess y'all were carved up into 2. So again, trying to keep Midland and Odessa in particular whole as well. So again, I know that's kind of a little off the normal path, but again, making that point about the needs here in the Permian Basin and keeping that in front of them. On the federal level, we also have a couple items working, and one of them here, I call it the Crisco designated highway from Odessa to Augusta, Georgia, for all of our golf fans. The I-14 designation we got back into the House bill last year, and it is in the new draft of the transportation reauthorization for this year. Working with Senator Cruz's office, that has also now been submitted on the Senate side to the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, so we feel good about that. We're also working with Senator Cruz's office on this other item, and we started off, oddly enough, with Senator Udall, a Democrat from New Mexico, last year on this, to add energy impacted areas or energy traffic into our definition for nationally significant freight and highway projects. And Senator Cruz is working to again get that added on the Commerce, Science, and Transportation side. It's on the EPWP committee side already, trying to get it in as many times as we can. But the whole purpose to that is it opens up that federal grant program and that division of federal funding under USDOT to essentially at that point any road out here would qualify for energy equipment. And again, just trying to find another way to get additional funding, and this time at the federal level. So with that, that would be my report.
Any questions? Seeing none. My favorite part, Miss Muncie. Our financials. How much can we spend?
As much as your budget allows. Always the
Okay.
Okay, in your packet you have February's financial statement. Not a lot of change for the month of February. We have total assets of almost 4 million. We have a reserve fund balance of 17.4, assigned 9.1 for TxDOT. We still have our housing infrastructure of almost 5 million, unreserved to $25.4 million. On the next page is your budget to actual comparison for the 5 months ending February 2021. We have sales tax showing at almost 4.3 million for these months. By the way, I gave you a 1-page sheet of sales tax. We were hoping today's check would look a little better, but it was down from last month's check as well. So hopefully, that would have been February sales. So hopefully we see an uptick with the state opening and that in March, that we see that start to rise again. Not much change in the expenses for the month from last month. Then on the next page you have changes in reserve fund balance. There was no changes for the month. And then we have our investment summary. We've had one of our municipal bonds mature. And then we had our money coming in and out of the pools for the month. And we talked last month about some things we're trying to do with our investments. We've moved some into the Logic investment pool. We're also working with one of the local banks for some CDs at kind of a decent rate for what you can get today. Any questions on the financials? I also handed y'all out your printed copy of the ODC audit that was gone over last month with the outside auditors. So that is the final copy. One of the other things we're required to do with the state once we've completed the audit is we file an economic development report with the state. Basically all this does is tell them what we had in sales tax revenues, other revenues, how our expenditures looked, and that's basically all that's to the report, but that is due by March 31st to the state, and that was filed. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions on the financials? If not, I need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept financials.
Motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Same sign. Okay. Okay, at this point, we need to have a motion to recess for an executive session. Got a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
You need to announce
Do what?
that
Oh.
item.
Okay, the ODC is recessing to go into executive session to discuss deliberation regarding economic development negotiations under Texas Government Code Section 551-087. The ODC will reconvene in open session for possible action. The time now is 1:35. And we will return shortly. Okay, it's now 2:07. I'll call the meeting back in session. And Norma, did you say number 8?
Number 8, yes.
Why are we tabling that?
We're not tabling it, we need a motion to remove from the table as it was
remove.
tabled at the
Gotcha.
last ODC meeting.
We should move to
Wait.
come out of,
Okay,
Chairman,
yes.
we need to make a motion to come out of executive session. You didn't already do that.
Okay, I need a motion to come out of executive session. It's 2:07. Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Okay, and then item number 8, Norma, we'll take care of that real quick. We need a motion to remove that from the table. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Okay. Now we'll go to reconvene from the open. Now I will entertain a motion. Entertain a motion after our discussion in there to approve the
Compliance Committee recommends to the full board for a 10-year commitment to Project Watson for $20 million, split over $2 million a year based on their capital investment and their job creation each year.
I'll make a motion to accept compliance.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, did everybody vote? Okay, I can't hear from these deals, okay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6, we need to discuss the procedure of termination of economic development agreements due to COVID-19. Do you have that, Wes?
We talked at the last meeting about 2 projects. Maybe legal has them.
Yeah, I don't have them with me, but we did talk about 2 projects. We have some projects that have not started yet, and they didn't want to get off the ground. They're not going to be able to meet their contractual obligations set out due to COVID. And what we're really looking for from the ODC board is to give us some direction. I can review those, and actually right now I have no problem allowing them to terminate those agreements because nothing has happened. But I just wanted some direction from ODC if those are things, really they would like to keep those things private. They don't want a big announcement that they can't meet the contracts that they signed.
Are you saying that they are requesting to terminate the agreement?
Yeah.
And that no action's been
No
performed,
action.
there's been no monies offered?
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if we need board action, but
No board action,
from my perspective, I don't see any reason why we would waste our time
and that's what I wanted.
in that regard.
Both companies contacted us because the audit process was beginning, and they said there was no way they were going to reach their milestones. And due to the catch-up period that would be over the next several years probably, they would probably never attain the milestones throughout those contracts. So they requested, rather than amending or extending or trying to make those milestones that we all know are probably going to be impossible, they requested to just wipe it clean and hopefully come back later for a project agreement that is realistic for what they can do.
That's a very simple and efficient way to handle it, as far as I'm concerned.
That's all we wanted.
Okay. Budget calendar. I think everyone has a copy of the budget calendar. There's one question I have on, are we requesting by June 18th to have all those back in? Is that correct? Responses due from agencies regarding,
Yes.
is that, can we extend that to July or something? Because some of those, because of the way their meetings are set, and they're gonna have to start next month to meet that. Would that cause any problems, Cindy, on your end? Or Natasha?
If I can speak to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the ones that this is something we have to start working on it in April for something to get you something in June in order for y'all to consider it in July and then vote on it in August. I know for a fact from my budget, since due to the COVID, there's not going to be a whole lot of changes or asking for addition. I mean, it's going to be a flat budget, and anybody that thinks that's not the case, I'd argue there's no reason with the current situation. So if that's the case, I believe, and I'm not on the board, y'all get to make the calendars and decisions, and of course Cindy and the staff gets to review those to get them to you. But I would hope my budget is simple enough that y'all could look at it and review it and vote on it in one meeting. Hopefully you get it enough time ahead of time that you could ask me questions before the case if there was something that didn't make sense. And hopefully we could do that in one meeting instead of two, which hopefully would extend that calendar out for a little bit more time to do that. We do have a lot going on, and I know Cindy does as well, so I'm not asking for special consideration, just hopefully a little longer time frame to get those to you and a little quicker time frame for you to review and approve. And I'll step down.
Any other comments? Cindy?
I'm good with moving the date to July.
Okay.
We'll have to rework what date that
Right, because
actually
of the
is.
numbers, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
because we'll have to coincide with the meeting. I can't get them in on a Friday and turn around on, the same day and get stuff out to y'all on a proposed budget. So I've got to work with the dates a little bit, but I think we can meet that. Right now, we were having it approved by the council at their August 24th meeting. Provided there's no real controversy over any of the budgets, we can probably move that at least one, maybe two meetings to where it's in September.
Okay.
Do you foresee a problem with that?
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
So if you'll revise that, we'll approve that at the next meeting. Okay. Appoint compliance committee member to replace outgoing member Phil Padilla. Okay, I think everybody had their applications in. Norma, do you? I'm going to ask her to. She's going to hand out some ballots. We're only replacing him at this point. We'll go to the next item, and she keeps giving me that evil eye that we got to be out of here by 3, so we're going to keep moving. Are these the ones that y'all got the information on as well? Okay. So all we need to do is mark one. And then Norma will start the other discussion on the other. And you can tell us in a few minutes how that came out. Okay. Reappoint compliance committee members whose current terms expired 12/20, Rios, Jefferson Cox, Michael Withrow, Gavin Norris. Those are the ones that were up for reappointment. Those are the ones that we contacted earlier in the year and asked for a commitment to serve again, and they have agreed to serve and have been serving at this time. Now, on my sheet here, we have some more that are going to, in just 5, 6, 7 months, we're going to have some be coming off. And I would like us to honor our commitment to them and their commitment back to us to leave them on to be reappointed. And then we address the entire thing at the end of the year when we have the ones coming off, and then reappoint again, because you can serve 3 consecutive 2-year terms.
I move that we reappoint those listed individuals to the compliance committee.
Okay, got a motion?
I'll second that, but I want to
Okay.
make a comment, and I'm certainly some discussion before.
Okay, yes. So I've got a motion and a second now for discussion.
I think I think it's important to honor the fact that, I mean, we just had a delay here and we're basically doing what we said we were going to do. When looking at the bylaws, I think it'd be worth us considering changing the bylaws. The bylaws now call for 10 members on that committee. It's not less than, it's not greater than. And I would like for us to consider sometime in the future, next meeting, consider changing that to maybe have verbiage that says minimum of 10. So that maybe we can add that. We have a little bit of room. We got, new members on our board. Maybe it gives us an opportunity to add another member or two at that time. We honor this commitment, but then going forward, it's not, as long as we don't have 18 members on the committee where it's unworkable, if we had a dozen on there, I think it'd be great. So I would offer that as some consideration. Says we can keep these folks on here as they committed to do 3 months ago. And then going forward, let's see if we could change our bylaws and then potentially add 1 or 2 more members.
Expand it and include a cap.
Maybe.
Yeah, I have discussion on that. Natasha, our bylaws have got to be changed to,
Yes.
which we've been at. We had it ready to go, and then council couldn't decide which way they were going to go. But now, can we include that in the changes?
Definitely in the bylaw.
Can we have that by the next meeting?
If you will get your comments back to us, we can get them done by the next meeting, but I really do need ODC to get their comments back to us.
Okay.
Timely, so we can have those red lines out to you. So, we always discuss it in those meetings. So, yes.
Now, Robert had it ready to go, I think, at one time, and then we held up because we didn't know if we're going to go to 7 or 5,
Right.
and I think those have
So
been.
we have those changes.
Those were approved.
Those red lines, no, they weren't approved.
They weren't,
Those
okay.
red lines are already tracked, of
Okay.
course. And so we can add this, and anything in addition that you want to add, let us know, and we can send that out with a red line copy before we have our meeting. And kind of
Okay.
go back and forth on what everybody's looking at for that.
Bill, and currently, on average, at each compliance meeting, how many members of the compliance committee are normally, we have the 10, we got the 5 ex officio, on average, how many people normally show up?
At the last one, there's a pretty good turnout. You don't usually end up with all your ex officio showing up.
No.
Right.
The voting members,
But the voting members,
because we have to have
you'll
4
almost
for 4. is that
always
right?
have, I would think, less than 7.
And it always, sometimes it depends on how quickly that meeting's convened. If you don't give people a lot of notice, something, well, I'm going to be out of town, such and such and such. So it could be a little less than that, but I'd say somewhere between 4 and 8. Closer to 8.
Consistently 6 to 8 of the
Okay.
10 are there. I'd say it's a 70% attendance usually, but there is typically one that had a work conflict or travel out of town, those kinds of things. So it's going to
And
be.
it's intended to be a nimble committee that can meet on the,
Yes.
Yeah.
But the other thing to consider too is over the last, how long those meetings have had to be remote because of the pandemic. And so I don't know that that we'd be able to give a good idea. We had an in-person one on the Nacero project, but I think was there maybe one other in-person one before that?
Not
they all
since the
been remote?
pandemic. They've all been
remote.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that over the last 6 years, 7 years of involvement, the numbers probably hovers around 6, 7.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. And it passes. Okay. Now discuss appointments to ODC committee. We've got partnership, which Wes advised me that I'm the chair on that one, so I'll stay on that. But we've got tax incentive, advertising.
Tax incentive met. I can report on that very quickly.
Oh, we're
Okay.
just talking about appointments to the
Oh, I'm
committee.
sorry.
Well, let's go ahead and get your report and then we'll.
Real quick, we elected the same officers, Willie Taylor, chair, and Drew Crutcher, vice chair. We had 2 tax abatement contracts for year 2020 that met their obligations and that were approved. And then the guidelines and criteria governing tax abatement and reinvestment zones and enterprise zones was presented, and there were no changes recommended to that. So that's
Okay.
basically what happened.
All right, partnership and advertising has not met. Now, to the new members, is there a committee that you're interested in serving on? As far as the Downtown Grants Review Board, partnership, we can have two, we could really have three, I guess, at one of these committees now that we have seven. But
I recommend y'all get on that downtown.
give them the downtown.
I recommend you get on it.
I'm not going to take that as a motion. I'm going to continue on and ask them which ones they would like to serve on.
I mean, I'd be happy to serve either downtown or advertising, either one of those.
Okay. So I'm going to put Jeff down for downtown. And Jeff, if you don't mind serving on advertising with me.
Now I may need to rethink that one.
Okay. I won't take that as a motion either, because it'll pass. I was going to stay on the downtown, on the advertising, and Jeff, and then we can have one more on advertising if anyone's. So Jeff, okay. David, I'm going to ask you to serve on the partnership since we have to run the meeting if one of us is there. Chris, what?
I'd love to serve on tax incentive, but I don't know if I want to bump one of these guys.
Well, we can reassign.
You can have three on there if you want to. You won't have a quorum.
So
I'll just tell you, that's not real exciting. We meet once a
Please
year.
don't mark me off that committee.
I'll take that as a motion and we'll vote
Don't
on
think
it.
I don't know that.
One time is all they meet, so.
Okay, so we'll put Chris on the tax incentive. I hope Norma's writing good notes because I'm struggling here. Okay. Grants Design Review Board, who do we have on there now? Is that where Gene was with?
Gene was on that, and who else was on that?
It was just him.
Chris,
It was just Gene?
you were on it, no?
No, it was just him.
I could do it.
Okay. So Chris will take the downtown and
Specifically Chris, please. Who you talking about?
Yeah, you got Chris and Chris.
Chris Crow.
Yeah, I'm the younger, better. I didn't say better looking. I just said younger.
Wait,
Okay.
I thought Board Member Russell was doing downtown. Right.
He is.
Okay, put him downtown as well.
No, just one. The way it's written, there's a council member, compliance committee appointee, and then the ODC board member, and then there's one more member. Who is it?
It was the mayor.
The mayor.
Okay.
Yes. So
So-
it's three on that.
All right.
Well,
And
it sounds
then-
like I'm not on any committees anymore. I think this has been a productive meeting.
You're on tax incentives. Tax
You're
incentives.
still in tax incentives. We're not going to let you off that easy. Okay.
You can have three on the other one.
Yeah, on advertising. Anyone else want to do an advertising?
No.
Yeah.
Jeff wanted to do advertising.
Okay, yeah.
I can do that one.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I said I can do
Yeah,
that.
does anyone else want to? David, do you want to?
No, I think Chris called.
Chris?
He does.
We can adjust this to the next meeting too if you,
Hey, Tim, you can put me on partnership too if we can have three.
okay?
I'll go on next.
You go on advertising? Okay. All right. Next item,
Can we quickly just recap, please?
okay, what have you got?
Partnership, Tim, David, and Melanie.
Okay,
Tax, Chris Crow, Melanie, and David.
okay.
Advertising, Jeff and Chris Cole.
Cole.
And DOI, I'm not sure, Jeff or Chris. What did we decide?
Jeff Russell, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay. I don't, any citizens want to make any comments?
We need to, oh,
You know,
go ahead. You're going to go back to 8, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the results on item number 8, what do we have, Norma?
Peggy Dean to be appointed.
Okay,
If I could have a motion.
need a
So
motion? So made. Second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion for adjournment.
Did you get a motion on the reappointment?
Yes, just now.
Okay.
Yes.
On the reappointment, yeah, we did the reappointment earlier.
We did that first.
And you made a motion on it?
We got the reappointment for Peggy D.
No, she's
No, no.
not a reappointment. She's
Reappointment, you're reappointing one.
Yes, we
We
got
had a motion.
the
You did vote
reappointment.
on this, okay.
Yeah.
Okay? So we stand adjourned. Thank you.